So, Phantom Menace.
Yes.
Got to talk about the Phantom Menace. I always like to save these Star Wars bits until the end segment because I know that Chris isn't a huge Star Wars fan, but he did say he listens to us talking about Star Wars because he likes he likes to hear our memories of when we watch stuff. So, hi, Chris.
Yeah. And I meant to have. I've got it's 8 or 10 inch Jar Jar Binks figure. And I mean, like, I used to go into Walmart, and it was like Star Wars stuff was always on super sale. So it's like $2 for a Jar Jar Binks. Sure, why not? But anyway, so I meant to have that. I found the cassette. This is still on Star Wars, but not on Phantom Menace. I found the cassette recording of Star Wars. I have nothing to play it on. This is my dad being a bootlegger. And because he liked the movie so much, the second time we saw it, he recorded the whole thing so he could listen to it going down the road.
Yeah, so, I used to do that. I used to audio record films and listen to them. Yeah,
nice. Yeah. But anyway, forgot all about it, man. And then took the dog out, and then was late for the podcast. So
you were only by a couple of minutes, though. Only by nobody would know. So you've just confessed your sin.
Yeah. So Phantom Menace, man. Yeah, dude. Who wants to go first, man? This was monumental.
Well, I actually wrote down the release date. So in the UK, it came out at the end of July 1999.
Yeah.
And in America, it was May 1999. So there was quite a hefty gap. And I went to the US, not just to watch Phantom Menace, but I did see it before it arrived in the UK. I was stupidly excited by the Phantom Menace because it's like a lot of people bash the prequels and some are better than others, but now people love the prequels because they don't like the sequels. So, I have mixed feelings on the Phantom Menace. I'm not a huge fan of prequels.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, I wonder who Anakin Skywalker is going to turn into. Kind of know that answer.
Yeah. Well, that or when he's jumping out of the car or whatever, and he's not going to die. You know what I mean? There was a lot of things that you just, no matter what happened, you didn't get as anxious as, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to Anakin? So
and like, who's Ian McDiarmid playing? Oh, could that be the guy that turns into the Emperor by any chance? Right. That sort of. So I'm a little bit iffy on prequels in general. It's like sometimes I don't think you need to go back and learn. It's sort of de-scarified Darth Vader, in my opinion, because from the original trilogy until obviously the last 15 minutes of Return of the Jedi, you were like, oh my God, Vader's well nasty. Oh my God, he's scary. Yeah. Now you watch Phantom Menace, you go back, watch the original trilogy, you're like, ooh, whoopee, that sort of stuff. You're like, so there's that. But I remember seeing the first.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, man.
I remember seeing the first trailer, and then that poster where it's Jake Lloyd and the silhouette is Vader, and you're like, that is a seriously. I really want to watch this. What is this Phantom Menace? Who is it? Yeah. Does it mean this person? Does it mean that? Nobody really knew what the Phantom Menace was. People were a stupid title, but so I think that was probably the start of the toxic fandom when it comes to movies. I think. Would be
maybe, man,
that one.
And I don't remember, was it through iTunes? I don't remember how I saw the trailer, but as soon as I could watch it and download it, then I lost count, man. I mean, I watched it over and over. I analyzed every frame. Man, these droids, the explosion behind them, and I wanted to know more. Plus, it's the Phantom Menace. They're going to explain the Clone Wars that Leia talks about when she's asking Obi-Wan to, come to her rescue. And yeah, man. I mean, it was, I was so excited about it. And the older kids had already seen the original trilogy over and over and over. And so we went to the movie theater, and I was as excited as them. And then the fanfare and the credits rolling, and it was just cool, man. I want to say that maybe jarred. You know what? My one takeaway, which I watched it a week ago, and I don't. And look, I love Kevin Smith movies. dick and fart jokes, and I mean, like, but the fact I was not expecting Jar Jar to step in a pile of poop and then to be farted at by that one, whatever the creature was. And then I think there was a third fart or crap reference. And again, you and I have discussed all the many things that I enjoy and watch on TV. But I just felt like this is weird, man.
Yeah.
You know, it was almost like going to see Shrek. And when he was in his jacuzzi and the bubbles were coming up, and I was like, they're farting in a kids movie?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand this. And it wasn't that I was a prude. I was just like, they can do that? You know, so it was just weird. But overall, I thought it was great. The fact that Lucas cared enough about our experience that he would not allow any movie theater to play it unless they had the proper sound system. And a buddy of mine that I went to high school with was one of the guys that went around to all the theaters and would tell one after another, your sound system is not up to par. You're going to have to replace it if you want to show Phantom Menace. And oh my God, he was like the plague. No one liked him, but we appreciated it. You know? So it's partially his fault that we have such stellar sound in theaters today. And Lucas also, there was one scene, and I can't remember which one, maybe you remember, but there was one scene, I think it was Qui-Gon talking to Obi-Wan not too long after they had met Jar Jar, but it was shot digitally instead of on film just to see if anyone would notice. To me, there's a little lens different. Probably Neil would say, oh, hey, it's that,
yes, of course it would.
You know, the 47-minute mark. And but yeah, man. So that was another huge step forward with digital cinema that we can thank George Lucas for. And pioneers like Neil, who also pushed those digital limits, man.
But it was a huge thing, was the Phantom Menace. People don't give George Lucas enough credit for just how cinema today is, partially because of a lot of the stuff he did, take THX, Industrial Light, Pixar, and so on and whatnot. But I didn't come out of Phantom Menace with any bad thoughts. I didn't come out hating Jar Jar. Some of the Jar Jar stuff was, like you said, a bit stupid. You're like, whatever. But not enough to go, this has ruined my childhood. This is terrible. Because we'd not had a Star Wars film. And I'm taking the Ewok movies out of the equation since 1983. So it was like 16 years since we'd had a Star Wars movie. And then we were getting one. And it was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. This is amazing. The Duel of the Fates, more John Williams stuff back.
Oh my
Darth Maul, the dual lightsaber fight. Ewan McGregor as hello there. He was great as Alec Guinness, effectively.
It was excellent. And probably, I think the Duel of the Fates being so different musically with the chorus and the the choir or whatever. It took it to the next level. And that is probably one of my favorite lightsaber duels of all time. And not just because we went from Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader just kind of dang, 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 and it was very samurai. I get what he was trying to do, but it was not robust,
No.
But man, that was awesome. And I always admired the fact that, Darth Maul is on the other side of the red laser thingy, whatever. And he's just brooding, man. And Qui-Gon's just like, Zen moment.
Just gonna chill.
I'm just gonna I'm gonna chill out. Didn't save his life, but still, man,
But it's I saw that I think maybe 2-3 times during its cinema run. I still have the very same DVD that I bought probably like end of 99 or 2000 or whenever it came out, the 2 disc set.
Right.
I also have the film on Blu-ray as well, so in a box set. But I think I wasn't a huge fan of Jake Lloyd. It's nothing against Jake Lloyd. It's just like you see the kid and you go, Darth Vader? You're not scary. That makes obviously we haven't seen the other 2 films since then. Binks, hit and miss. I thought Natalie Portman was great as Padme.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Casting was great. The film looked awesome. There was so much merchandise. Tons.
Oh, yeah.
I had the soundtrack. I got a drinks cup, I think, which had a Jar Jar Binks head on it, which unfortunately I don't have anymore, but I don't know what happened to that. But
yeah.
I was trying to go back and rewatch it before this conversation, but it's buried in one of many tubs with DVDs because it doesn't sit in my 200 films of all time list. I think it might, though. And I was thinking about that today, and I'm like, should it be in there? I think it could be.
Yeah.
But I need to rewatch it to decide. But I think I've like so many video games I played. I had Pod Racer, which I love. But I've still got that on my PS5 now. So I played that, and as well as a couple of PC games that sort of followed the storyline of the Phantom Menace.
I used to frustrate Matt, and I would play, and so there was, and I guess it was just called the Phantom Menace. But anyway, I can't remember which console it played on, but you got to be a Jedi, and one of the coolest things was you'd hit the button and your lightsaber would come out, and but anyway, I would play it like Conan the Barbarian. Matt would play it very stealthily, so he would be like, hiding, you know what I mean? And I would just man, shoot at
slash,
me. I'm gonna So he wanted to be much more like the movie, and I was like, nope, that's not how I would play it if I had a lightsaber.
Oh, you just
yeah. So, but you brought up the soundtrack, and I remember being so excited for the movie, and you pulled the CD out, and you're looking at the amazing Drew Struzan artwork and stuff, and you flip it over, and I'm reading the different song titles, and Qui-Gon's Noble End, and I'm like, whoa, what did I just do? And I told my son and my daughter, do not look at the CD case. Don't look. Don't read the.
That's gone down in legend as one of the big cock-ups.
Man,
of the Star Wars thing.
And you think about action figures. That's another thing that it's like, hey, did I see a silver C-3PO or whatever? You know what I mean? You can always look for the action figure. Is Wedge Antilles actually going to be whatever, whoever the character is? And there it is. You want to know more about Darth Maul, then boom, let's go look at his action figure. Let's read the little synopsis on the back of the package. So, but reading Qui-Gon's Noble End, I was like, dang, man. Yeah,
that's bad. And that's probably something I think I'd seen the film before I got the soundtrack, just out of sheer luck.
Good for you, man.
But I've heard that story over the years where people talk about that. Like, who thought? I think it was a screw up between. They figured the soundtrack would come out after the film, but even still, just call it something different. Qui-Gon's theme or something. I don't know.
That's it, man. Not remembering Qui-Gon, not something like that, No. But yeah, dude. Yeah, I don't think the bonfire at the end of the movie, where they were paying homage to him, I don't think that had a theme song.
No, I don't think it did. No.
Yeah, Qui-Gon's barbecue. Yeah.
Midichlorians could have done without the midichlorians. Didn't really need that. I know people get really mad at midichlorians. I don't get really mad at them. I'm just like, you know what? I'll ignore those.
Yeah. We didn't need that explanation. I think if the sequels did any favors to the fandom, it was the Force is something that we all have the capability of wielding. And we can all learn to use the Force. And it just kind of opened the doors for everybody. Not necessarily a virgins in the Force that, was named Anakin. His midichlorian count was way more than Yoda's. So, yeah. And speaking of Yoda, the original release of the movie had Puppet Yoda. And then the what was it? 2 years later, they came out with the
CG Yoda,
yeah, which tons better, man. I was
really. See, I'm Puppet Yoda. I'm Puppet Yoda fan. Yeah.
It just looked like he was severely constipated, and his neck was so blown out, and his eyes. It was like he I don't know, man. I feel like they could have done better. Now, granted, when you go back and look at the puppet from the original trilogy, um, that one is a lot rougher, but yet still, man, we accepted it, right?
Hmm.
But there was just something like maybe his face was too thick, maybe not thick enough, and then his eyes were just kind of wonky, kind of like a bad Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know if you guys have those over in the UK, but yeah, man. And then I guess with Jar Jar being so animated, seeing Yoda talk like that, I mean, like, anyway,
It's
so
like
yeah,
Billy
but
Bob Thornton from Sling Blade, weren't it? You're a Jedi. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
gonna bash his head in. Yeah,
Kill him with them lightsabers.
right. Which, by the way, man, still in the Star Wars theme, I tagged you in a tweet where because you could go to the droid factory at Disney, right? And but I did not see the option to buy a $25,000
Wow.
life-size R2D2. So I'm hoping that Hasbro or Disney or whoever will send you one for review, and
I
then
hope so.
yeah, yeah.
I do
If
hope
the
so.
shipping is if the shipping winds up being too much, just have them send
I'll
it to
have it
me. I'll be your
forwarded to you.
delegate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
open it on video. Just send me the clip. It's fine.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'll try to channel my best Christian Bale and describe it, and I'll just remain off camera.
But Phantom Menace, I still to this day do like the Phantom Menace. I don't
Yeah.
really see the hatred. I think it's one of those films that's had the history rewritten, where like everybody liked
Yeah.
Titanic when it came out. Now everybody thinks it sucks. And you're like, where? No,
No
they didn't.
way.
They liked it when it came out. They didn't. No, nobody. Everybody
Yeah.
hated it. No, they didn't.
No. I think a lot of people had a disbelief, like when everybody was saying, wow, it's amazing. And you're like, I mean, I went uh begrudgingly and had a huge like Olympic sized Coke and
Uh-oh.
finished that off. And man, I sat on a very full bladder for the rest of the movie because it was that good. And speaking of Titanic, there was an acquaintance of mine. It was Mark something. I can't remember his last name, and I forgot to look it up. But anyway, he worked for Industrial Light and Magic. Sorry, Michelle is having fun with Jax. But anyway, um, and so anyway, but his takeaway from the Phantom Menace was he could tell because there's too much animation for one production house to do Jar Jar.
Yeah.
And so they split it up. I think it was 3 or 4 different, animation houses. And his disdain was going, yep, there's the different Jar Jar. They didn't know what they were doing when they did the
Oh
particle render,
no.
blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And so it was interesting, but still, just
Suspend your disbelief, Mark. Come on, seriously. Just
exactly.
give yourself over to Star Wars. It's fun. But I mean, I didn't come out of Phantom Menace going, "This is the best film I've seen all year," or "Oh my God, this is amazing," or "This is better than the original trilogy." I'm not one of those, but I enjoyed it. I liked it, and I've seen it probably 15, 20 times over the years, and I would have happily sat and watched it again this afternoon if I'd have found where the DVD was. But the same cannot be said for Attack of the Clones. But I need to revisit. I'm going to try and revisit all the prequels before we put these Star Wars ones to sleep. I don't know if I do. If we end up doing the sequels in 6 months' time or whatever, who knows? But,
I'll watch Attack of the Clones so we can talk about that, and then of course. The first ever Star Wars that was PG-13, So I'll watch that. Anakin, I've got the high ground.
Yeah. What's that got to do with it? I'll chop your legs off. I've never understood that line. It's just like, I get it. It's supposed to be a funny line, but it wasn't. Just like, it's not a funny one. It's a bit odd.
I don't know that they were meant to be funny, but it's like, you're meant to bring balance to the Force, dude. Going back to Phantom Menace, coming out of that, because I always enjoyed going to the movies. I wanted my kids to have that movie going experience, but I didn't want to take them beyond I think PG-13 was probably the limit. As they were growing up. So that was a further celebration of the Phantom Menace, was that George Lucas gave the world something that I could share with my kids. and I think we saw it probably maybe 6 times in the movie theater. And one of the last times, um, I had a big animation project that I was working on, and so I was not getting enough sleep. And I took the kids, and at some point during Qui-Gon's, during the big Darth Maul battle, I dozed off. But in my
Wow.
mind, because I'm listening to it, it was like different camera moves. And I'm like, man, I have never seen this version before. This is really cool. And then I woke myself up.
In John's head version. Yeah. Okay.
And said if they could have just tapped that. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, but you were saying that you going back to Yoda, you liked the puppet
Yeah.
Yoda versus the CG
I did,
Yoda.
because it's like I'll always be a fan of practical over CG, and the
Yep.
practical might not look as good as the CG, but there's something nice
Yeah.
about a physical
Oh
thing.
yeah.
I think.
But during when Mace Windu is saying, but which is the master and which is the apprentice, and Yoda's just sitting there going, I don't know, man. It was just
It did look a bit like that wonky gremlin in Gremlins. Was it Gremlins 2? The one that had like a bit of something being
yeah,
hit by a plank
yeah,
or something. I'm not quite sure. But he had that sort of look. Maybe that's where they got that
yeah.
gremlin from.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think, and who knows? Probably Yoda looked so much better back in the day because now we're spoiled to have the practical. Because I'm with you, man. I would much rather see practical effects. And Neil in Skeleton Crew, his huge animated eyes, and you would forget that he was a person in a costume.
Yeah.
And so I think going back and watching some of the footage like I did, excuse me, earlier in the week, I think that was what probably made Yoda look even worse. He
Yeah.
just looked sad, kind of like the actor who's 110, and you're just
Yeah.
like, Dad, it's time for you to retire, dude.
Yeah. But fond memories. I liked the film then. I've liked it ever since. I still like it now. I don't know when the last time I watched it was, though. Probably
Yeah,
10 years ago, easily. Because
yeah,
it's not often I'll rewatch my favorite films of all time quite often, but the
yeah,
next tier down, I don't tend to
yeah,
do that, and I really should.
yeah. I mean, but sometimes it's that, it's like I haven't watched The Fifth Element in probably 6 years, and
Yeah.
I mean, like, I really enjoy that movie. So, but I think sometimes it's good to take a nice long break from it and then check it out and see if it still holds up.
Yeah, definitely. But I always
Yeah,
enjoy these. I enjoy our conversations anyway, but I'm enjoying
yeah,
these memory lane
yeah,
Star Wars segments, which go on the Star Wars YouTube channel, and aren't doing too
yeah,
bad,
yeah.
to be fair. They're doing okay. So